Hello and welcome to Life I Design, the podcast, where we explore the art and science of crafting a life that truly reflects who you are and who you want to become. I'm Nicki Traikos, author, educator, and artist, and your guide on this journey of intentional living, art, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. In each episode, we dive into thought-provoking conversations while I bring in experts, innovators, and everyday people who are redefining what it means to live a fulfilling and purpose-driven life. From mastering mindset and setting meaningful goals to embracing creativity and overcoming obstacles, we cover it all to help you design a life that is uniquely yours. Whether you're looking to make a major life change or simply seeking inspiration to enhance your daily routine, Life I Design is here to provide you with the tools, insights, and motivation you need to start building the life you've always dreamed of. So get ready to challenge your thinking, ignite your passion, and take actionable steps toward a life you love. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get started with today's episode. Hey, guess who's back chatting about all things art, creativity, biz, and life. I've been thinking about rebooting Life I Design the podcast for some time now, and I'm a firm believer in intention setting and timing. When the time is right, the process will unfold smoothly, quickly, and seemingly without effort. I say that because I have been playing around with different apps to use for editing and recording, and like everything, it's a process and a journey. It's been a few years since I last published a podcast episode, and I feel like I have a lot to say these days. If you're like me and you're a fan of podcasts and use them in your daily life to inspire you or to help you learn something new, or you look for maybe some fun episodes to help with making the time pass while doing things like unloading the dishwasher, or even when you're out for a long walk. Well, I'm back and I'm happy to share so much that I've learned over the last few years especially. And maybe you're asking, what can you expect to hear going forward? Well, literally everything. I will focus on making art, of course, but also starting an art-based business and how to design a life that fulfills you, that lights you up. And as you follow your passion and want to live more authentically, I will invite guests on the show, bring in some other experts to share their knowledge, insight, and stories. I have so much planned. While preparing for this episode and wanting to offer an update of what I have experienced these last few years, it made me think a lot about what I wanted to share of how much of my story that I wanted to tell you. I'm a huge fan of storytelling, and I often lean into other people's stories when I look for inspiration. Personal histories is how I like to define it. It's kind of like people watching and imagining what their story is, imagining who they are and where they're going or what they're dreaming about. I think back to when I first noticed that I became interested in learning about other people and their stories, and I guess it was university. I majored in sociology and anthropology. It was a process to get there, let me tell you. It was truly the first time that I connected to my studies. And then when I was a makeup artist over 20 years ago, and this is like just at the beginning of when YouTube started, I designed and produced a series featuring women and their stories. I had a videographer friend who I met during some television work. We recorded and edited episodes together, and I really focused on exploring the featured women and shared what made them feel beautiful and told their own personal story. Just thinking about that series and my short stint even as a producer on a local reality TV show, I really enjoy interviewing people and learning about them. And I find that I'm yearning to do more of that now, just maybe adding a creative art twist to them. If you really pay attention to stories that people share, you can learn a lot about what shapes them, why they make the decisions they make, and also how you can maybe look at your own story and what shapes you. What are you inspired by? Maybe what do you want to create more of? The word curiosity comes up a lot for me. I believe curiosity is what fuels our creative process. Being curious about how your art materials work, how you can control them as you make art, or do they control your art making? I can go on, probably about curiosity, and maybe I will in a future episode. Who knows? So over the next, dozen or so upcoming episodes, I'm going to share more of what I've experienced over the last 3.5 years since my last episode on Life I Designed the podcast, and offer you more insight into the world of art making and hopefully to inspire you to lean into your own creative process while designing a life you love, and maybe even sharing your story with others. A lot has happened over these last 3 years. The pandemic was a biggie. I kind of even don't want to go back there, but I sometimes wonder how much it has changed us all on not only a personal level, but of course on a global scale. We all have our own pandemic stories, and I feel like we are still recovering in many ways. I know nothing will ever be the same, but sometimes I wonder about the new normal and how much it has changed our world on a micro level. For myself, I have learned to let go more and to make decisions that make me happy rather than making decisions based on other people's happiness, especially over my own. Don't get me wrong. I'm always thinking about how to help others, how to guide others, teach them, inspire them, even coach them. But I am now able to say no more easily, and most importantly, without feeling guilty. That is huge, and it took some time and courage to do that. I think the pandemic made us all look inwards. It kind of forced us actually to look inwards, to find comfort and even happiness through a very challenging and uncertain time. And of course, don't get me wrong, there are many positives that I think came out of the pandemic, and even the way that we were forced to live during the worst of the pandemic. Many found time to find and explore hobbies they dreamed of but never had the time to. Watercolor painting was one of them. I was fortunate to have online classes in place and to be able to lean into teaching online more through live Zoom classes, and even I got to partner with some pretty cool brands like Winsor & Newton and Michaels. I was on the receiving end of many emails, though, from students taking my class and sharing how much they were hurting or suffering through the pandemic, but their newfound hobby of watercolor painting offered them some solace. It was a chance for them to do something that offered maybe a little bit of joy, maybe a little bit of comfort, and maybe most importantly, some hope. A chance to be in a creative and meditative state through the practice of just brushstrokes, and even giving the permission to make art, period, without pressure of the outcome. A chance to realize that they had the talent to paint and enjoy the outcome too. And I realized a long time after that, teaching online and growing this creative community of mine was my solace. I was distracted by art and my community. I was focused on how I could offer more opportunity to make art and lean into the beauty of making art. I wanted to really be a part of that journey and help others connect to their art practice. And during our own personal challenges through the pandemic, and there were many, let me tell you, I leaned into my art business and I went full steam ahead, giving in as much as I could. I didn't think this was going to be an episode about the pandemic, but I guess if I'm going back, that's where I stopped. So that's where we're starting from again. So I realized that through this process, my role was to give others permission to try their hand at making art and offering them an opportunity to make it easy and welcoming, and that I would make their start into the world of art a place that was casual and supportive. I decided that I wanted them to just start, be the person who always wanted to try art but never believed they could, a chance to make art and feel successful and just feel the joy of making art, period. I look back on those last few years. They're filled with so much gratitude and wonder for how we ever got through it all. And then it reminded me that art is the answer. So through the pandemic, Watercolor Made Simple was born. And not only did I lean into creating online classes, but I also managed to get my first book publishing deal. And now Watercolor Made Simple is a printed book that guides you through techniques in watercolor painting along with fun projects to enjoy too. And I'll share more about what writing and working on a book was like for me and all the things that I learned along the way. But I think the two biggest things in my creative business life that really changed who I became as an artist and as a woman who also turned 50 during the pandemic years. There's something to be said about leaning into your age and all the experience and lessons that come with it. Being flexible and knowing when to pivot have been just a few of the biggest lessons for me. So if we look back to 2012, when I set out to start an art-based business that allowed me to debunk the whole starving artist persona, I had an idea of what I wanted to create and experience, but I really never dreamed it would be as fulfilling and as broad as it's been. If you're just starting out with your art-based or creative business and you've spent some time working on a plan for what you want to create or sell or offer, I really urge you to think big. And then think bigger. And then even bigger. I always say, there isn't a better time to start an art-based business than now. With technology that's available to us and your market that's truly global, and now that the pandemic trained us all to use technology more in our daily lives, we are more fluent with navigating the online world, so the scope of your business, of your buyers, of your community, and potential business partners and collaborators truly are everywhere and anywhere. What I really mean is that if you have a piece of art that you want to sell, you are not limited to share it with just a few people in your local area or via a market or gallery. You can now offer it online and ship it anywhere in the world. You design that experience that you want to sell, but also the where and the how. This update kind of feels like a bit of everything tied up into one episode, but again, I'll be sharing more in depth as I theme each episode. What I'm really hoping is with this episode is to share with you that I have leaned into all the lessons and experiences these last few years. And when I look back, there are many, many moments of surprise and growth that I want to share as much as I can to aid you in your own journey, to encourage you and to guide you while you take as much as you need through these stories and the advice that I will be sharing. What I ask from you is to take a few minutes and to sit down with a pen and a journal, a hot cup of something delicious, and write down some things that you would like to learn more about, to dive deeper into maybe, to explore more of, and let me know what they are. As I design and plan these next few episodes, I'd love to curate them based on what questions you have for me, or maybe what experiences you're hoping for your own personal art practice or business. I will do my best to weave them into upcoming episodes and share as best as I can, or maybe invite a guest who can guide us both. Who knows? In the meantime, can I ask you of a favor? I am leaning and learning how to ask for help more. Trust me, it's not an easy thing for me to do. Maybe I'll be better at it before my 60th birthday. So what I am asking from you is, if you haven't purchased a copy of my new book, Watercolor Made Simple, and you're looking for a beautiful printed book to help you along your watercolor journey, please consider buying a copy. It's available worldwide through most booksellers, and it's even available in Spanish and Italian. Who knew? And even if you have other artists that you follow who have books, or maybe favorite authors, please support them too by purchasing their book and even leaving an honest review. Through my experience of having a traditionally published book, I've unexpectedly learned just how much of the marketing and sales and success of a book is really the responsibility of the author. And as a thank you, I have a few fun painting experiences that you can enjoy. So to support my new book, Watercolor Made Simple, please purchase a copy either online through Amazon, through your favorite bookseller, and if they don't have a copy, maybe ask them to stock it for us. And then simply visit watercolormadesimple.com and enter your order or receipt number, and we will email you some links to recordings of painting projects that you can follow along with me. And I have something really special lined up for the book's 1-year anniversary coming up in November. And make sure you subscribe so that you can get updates for all of the fun stuff that I'm planning to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the book. I have some cool live painting sessions for you to join, as well as some giveaways too that you don't want to miss. So this is a bit of a rambling, but we are back on the podcast with lots of new episodes locked and loaded and ready to keep you company while you paint, while you go for a walk, or while you do the dishes. Hit subscribe so you get notified when a new episode drops. Share a review or leave a comment. Let me know that you're tuning in, that you're excited, and even what you'd love me to share more of. So thank you for listening, and until next time, happy creating, friend.